Hey there, everybody. This is Kristin from Teaching Balance with this week's practice for you. And for this week, I thought that it would be interesting for us to focus on the idea of softening. And when I use that term, I think sometimes there's a misconception that softening might be misconstrued as weakening, in some way, that there might be a sense of not having it together, or not being on top of things, or not being in control, and that sort of thing. And yeah, kind of a little bit, but not in the negative sense. If anything, in the more positive sense, the idea of softening that I'd like to introduce to you today is more about loosening, I guess maybe is another word that I would use for it, but really let's use the term itself, a softening. So a softening of ourselves to some degree physically, which I'll prompt you to do throughout the practice, but also perhaps even more importantly, a softening mentally. And again, it doesn't mean that, there's any weakness associated with that. It really is just more, well, maybe I'll just kind of lead you while we begin. So if you haven't already, go ahead and please find your seat. I will set the timer, as always, for 10 minutes. And after that start bell begins, of course, we'll end in 10 minutes with those 3 chimes. And throughout, I'm just going to be encouraging you to open yourself to this idea of the softening. And if for some reason it's just not resonating for you today, that's totally fine. Just do whatever you typically would do. But if you're willing to play with that a little bit, I would invite you to do so. So once again, go ahead and find your seat. Closing your eyes if you haven't already, or lowering your gaze. And I would encourage you to take those 2 or 3 or 4 deeper belly breaths. Really filling up the lungs from the bottom to the top. If this is a part that you typically skip, I'm going to invite you in the spirit of softening just to give it a try today. Because taking those deeper abdominal breaths really does help to invite that softening, allowing our bodies to relax. And while you can, of course, allow your attention to rest on the anchor of your breath or the anchor of sounds, I think I'd like to emphasize the anchor of your body for today. So if that's the one you typically prefer, great. If it's not, perhaps allowing yourself to use your body and bodily sensations as your anchor today. And let's begin just by checking in with the body, noticing any sensations that might be present. If you have a sense of excitement or anxiety or some sort of intensity as a whole, perhaps seeing if you can acknowledge that, and if possible, play with softening that experience in some way. And as one way to go about that, perhaps noticing in your body, where do you feel that excitement? Where do you feel that anxiety or perhaps that tension? Maybe you feel it in your shoulders and neck, your torso, your face. It depends completely on you, but just see if you can connect that sensation, that mood, if you will, to where it might be most easily observable in your body. And if you can, very gently, without any real forcing, see if you can soften that part of the body. And by softening, I mean you could perhaps notice if any muscles are in use that could be relaxed or disengaged. If it doesn't feel so much like a muscle, but more a general sense, perhaps breathing into that part of the body. If for some reason you're feeling a tension, let's say in your upper torso, your chest, just breathing into that. Not so much in the literal sense of expanding your chest with the in-breath, but more imagining the breath as it's inhaled, making its way to that part of the body, the chest, or some other part. Each in-breath has a cleansing quality to it. Fresh air and oxygen as it comes into your body. Imagining that air, that freshness, connecting with whatever part of the body perhaps you would care to soften in some way. So to some degree it's literal, a loosening of muscles, and in some ways more metaphorical, imagining the softening in a particular area. And whatever you are choosing to rest your attention on as your anchor, whether it is the body or the breath or sounds. Of course, by now you've probably had your mind wander several times, and that's okay. Seeing if you can, from this point forward, allow yourself to soften to that truth. Soften to the fact that you will inevitably get lost in thought. And the gaps between those thoughts may be longer and longer, or wider and wider, however you think about it. But you will find yourself imagining, planning, remembering. And when you do, bringing this softness and with that perhaps a sense of kindness and acceptance, a softening of the expectations you have of yourself, a softening of the expectations perhaps of what you have for this experience. Whatever quality of your body or mind that you can continue to bring a softness to. Allowing yourself to do so for these last few moments before the bell. Is 10 minutes. So once again, thank you so much for taking this time to practice with me, and of course, more importantly, for taking this time to take care of yourself. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.